Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Starters podcast. This podcast is made just for you if you're breaking intergenerational patterns and turning ancestral wounds into creative potential, embodied joy, and intergenerational abundance. I'm your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson. I'm passionate about ancestral healing and growth, as well as astrology and pleasure as transformative medicine, and I'm here to help elevate your consciousness and promote joy in your life. I truly believe everyone can become a cycle starter, reshaping their lineage and fostering growth and healing. Join me as I share enlightening insights and feature inspiring guests. We're here to support you in letting go of anything that's holding you back from your fullest expression in healing, growth, and transformation. If you're ready to be inspired on your journey of transformation and create a life that aligns with your true self, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on our social media platforms. Learn about what I do and how I can support you along your ancestral healing journey on my website, heatherrebeccawilson.com. And then please connect with me, DM me any topics you'd like for me to cover, share your takeaways, or send me a screenshot of your review, and I will send you a thank you gift. Now, let's get into it. Hey! So, welcome everybody to the Cycle Starters podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce to you our guest, Krisell Canamaso, a dear friend of mine and a guest expert inside of the Astro Ancestral Healing Collective. Her offering called Unleash Your Divine Feminine is inside the resource library, and we will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But I want to read her bio, and then we're going to get into a lovely conversation. So, Krisell is a multidimensional medium residing on the unceded ancestral lands of the Keats people. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I know Krisell will correct me. Okay, cool. And then Krisell empowers working moms to thrive at home in their career using psychic development, hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, coaching, and embodiment practices. Hey, sis.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you are here. Thank you for saying yes. And I love you and I'm very inspired by you. So I'm excited to have this chat. So tell us a little bit about your ancestry before we dive in.
Yeah, I am Filipina on both sides. My mom is from the Ilocos region of the Philippines, so northern Philippines. And then my dad is from the Visayas, and he is specifically from Leyte and Samar. But we got that connection.
Yes, we do. I love that. From Tacloban, right?
Yeah, so that is where my grandma and grandpa actually met in Tacloban. And yeah, so that's where my families are from.
We're probably related, seriously. I mean,
Honestly, it's such a small town.
I know.
So specifically, like my dad's side of the family, my grandpa's from a barrio called Carigara, which is northern Leyte. And then my grandma is from, I forget which side of Samar, but they're small islands. And so where they met, I believe, is at university. And I don't think the university is there anymore because I looked it up. My aunt told me the name of the school, but Tacloban is where they met.
I love it. I've been there. I went there, I forget when, but it was like 15 years ago at least. And it was like before the typhoon, like basically leveled it. But I'm pretty sure they've rebuilt it by now. But
Yeah.
oh my goodness. We need to go together. That's what I would like to do. That would be sick.
I would do that with you. Let's do that.
I know. Let's make a plan.
And you know what? I feel like I've met a good chunk of people that are also from there. Like we could just do a group trip because I've never been to Leyte. I've been to the Philippines, but I've never been to Leyte. And the last time I was there was when I was 15 years old. And I missed the leg of the trip that went to Leyte because I didn't have a good time. I didn't have a good time there. And I was like, I'm ready to go home. But if I had stayed just like a little bit longer, I would have been able to go to my grandpa's vacation home out there.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah.
Well, I'm planning to honeymoon there, so
Ooh,
cross
girl,
your fingers. I mean,
I'm not
not
coming with you on that trip.
specifically. No, no, you're not. But we don't have plans to go to Leyte. We're gonna go to, the plan is anyway, like Cebu, Siargao, and then El Nido. I'm really
Yeah,
excited.
that sounds amazing.
I know, I'm excited. So anyway, all right. So this beautiful offering that's inside of our resource library, this workshop called Unleash Your Divine Feminine. Tell us how you came to this place of developing that offering and sharing your medicine in that way. Just more broadly, you're a psychic medium, and I do think that people can get confused between the word psychic, right? The word medium, you and I have talked about this before, so I know that's like multiple questions in one, but I'm just going to hand it over to you. What would you like to share about this?
Yeah, so to start, the way that I found myself to this work, the way I developed that workshop is when I first came into my own spiritual development, it was all about self-care, always about taking care of myself, being able to nurture that relationship with myself and really take care of myself. And so everything that I've ever done has always been from that lens to help others do the same. Because when you think about it, let's just talk about parents are modeling how we want, modeling for children, how children should interact with the opposite sex, how they should interact in a relationship, and so on and so forth. And so the way that we treat ourselves is really modeling for others how we want to be treated too. And so I think it's really important to have a really strong relationship with yourself and to really take care of yourself and let that be the expression and the example for others. I just want to see women do really well. So that's how I came to that workshop. And we can talk a little bit more about that. I myself, I do identify as a psychic medium. And in our conversations, a psychic might be able to read the energy and explain it to you and convey those messages. As a medium, I'm able to tell you who is bringing this message forth. Does it matter? Sometimes it does. It really depends on the person. In my experience, what I've noticed is that when I'm giving people a reading, sometimes I don't see who is bringing forth the message, or that identification or awareness is not present. And it doesn't matter. Like those people, they're just here they need to know the message. But for some people, it's really important that they are able to identify and make that connection, especially when it comes to grief work. Because I would say on the mediumship side, most of my clients are there for the grief work. They have unfinished business with someone that's passed, and they really want to be able to reconcile and close that door for their own healing. And when I work with people one-on-one to develop that, I'm really working with them to be able to do both.
Nice. Well, so when did you realize that you had this incredible psychic ability? I know that all of us have these abilities. I would say that you are on the higher end of the spectrum. I feel like you are especially talented at this, but when did you first become aware that you had this ability?
Thank you. You are so generous.
I'm just being truthful.
I had a friend that had taken an intuition development course, and it was so fascinating to me that you could develop this. And so out of my own curiosity, I went into class. It was like a 1-day workshop, and very similar to a workshop that I actually teach, but instead of, because mine are primarily virtual, what I don't put it all in one day. I stretch it over a couple hours over a few days. But I attended this workshop and I was terrible. I want everyone to know that I was terrible. I could not identify who was giving the message. When I first started, I saw in a lot of symbols and I didn't understand what these symbols meant. And a lot of the symbols that I saw were like grayscale, like colors, symbols, all of that is communication. And my psychic communication was that of like a newborn child. And if you haven't used it, if you're someone that's listening and you're like, I've never had a psychic experience, it's just because you haven't used it. It's a muscle, it's still there, and you 100% can develop it. So it wasn't until, I mean, I know a lot of us are out there where when you do something, you get obsessive, and that was me. So after I took that one workshop, I was obsessively looking for psychic development circles to practice. I was making posts on Craigslist and Nextdoor to give free readings for practice. And so I was doing practice like every single day. And because of that regimen that I had, I took the class in January. And by May or June, I was starting to build my website for giving psychic readings for a fee.
So, I mean, we could talk about this forever and ever, but I want to move on. I want to now talk about your ancestral healing journey. So what has that been like so far? And can you speak to the patterns that you are actively breaking and also the biggest challenges around that?
Yeah. So over the last few years, I've really done a deep dive into what are my family's stories and how am I repeating those stories? Like, how am I just another expression of those stories? And how do I want to take control of that narrative and flip the script on that story? Like, backtrack to pre-COVID, like just before COVID, I never had a strong relationship with my parents. It was very much kids are there to be seen and not heard, sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much like my parents are first-gen immigrants. It was really listen to your parents because I was born and raised here. Obviously, I have this very American trait of speaking up for myself, which my parents would call talking back.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad would oftentimes tell his friends, like, oh, they're American or she's American. He didn't really know my parents beyond, like, this is my dad. And what I've learned is like this pattern of male domination.
Mm-hmm.
This pattern of male domination persists throughout my family. And I knew this from especially my mom's side of the family, where my grandpa was very strict, very controlling, even though my grandpa did not live with my mom. My mom lived with her aunts. My grandpa was very strict and controlled whether or not she could participate in after school programs, whether or not she was allowed to hang out with friends. And I really saw this like overcorrection from my mom because when I was in high school, I had a lot of free reign. And my mom really let me do really anything. Like I didn't have a lot of boundaries on what I was allowed to do. I was able to walk to my friend's house and sleep over. Like that's not something that my mom was able to do when she was growing up. But I did have a very strict dad, and thankfully my dad worked a lot. So I didn't spend a lot of time with him, which also contributed to not really having a strong relationship with him. But then as I got older, and I started to become more of like an adult and started to date and whatnot, then that's when the male domination really started to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that that has repeated itself in my own life story in the partners that I ended up with. And I'll say most recently, the partner that I ended up marrying and having a family with. I have 2 kids because I grew up around that, because my mom grew up around that. It was so normalized in my life to have a man that was so controlling and always trying to assert his opinions and control over me. So I ended up with a partner that was very insecure and would constantly gaslight me, use those as tools to control me and manipulate me. And I would say that within the last few years, because a lot of my work has centered around supporting other women, I was not only living through it, which I didn't realize at the time, but I was also able to experience it as an outsider through the clients that I was able to work with, which helped me understand and identify it within my own life. So fast forward to now, I just sent in my signed divorce papers yesterday.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I feel like we, as women, we do so much to make the men in our lives comfortable. And we do it at our own expense, at the expense of our mental well-being, at the expense of our identity, at the expense of our emotional labor. Like, you name it, we are sacrificing it to make the men, to enable the men, to, disable their emotional growth, to disable their own independence. And so I feel it's so important to be able to live that in my own life, to be myself, to do what's right for me, and to also support women to be able to do that for themselves. And I think that's also so important because we are quality choice women and we deserve quality choice men.
Amen.
And we are not going to get that if we continue to enable them staying stagnant and staying at the lowest levels of maturity and responsibility and accountability. We have to let them make their own mistakes and let them have their own lessons so that they can be the kind of quality choice men that we deserve.
Yes, and it's like almost you're speaking about child rearing in a
Yes,
way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, when I first separated from my kid's dad, the driving factor was I realized how bad he was treating me and that the kids were picking up on it. And I was like, I cannot in good conscience continue this relationship knowing that I'm raising men and that they're going to go be in a relationship and then treat women this way too. Like, it's bad enough that they're treating me this way, but I can't in good conscience let them treat another woman this way. And yes, we have effectively become our partner's mothers. And I think mothers of all ages, regardless of stage, like even if your children are adults, that your children would benefit for you if you would allow them to mess up, if you would allow them to make mistakes and learn from them. So at some point towards the end of the relationship, that's where I was like, you have to make your own mistakes and we're just going to deal with it as it comes along. And we continue to deal with it as they come along.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And you dropped so much wisdom there for our viewers and for our listeners. So thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing so vulnerably about your family and your, past relationships and what your family situation is, because I know that that is sensitive, but I find that it's so inspirational and instructive for other women who might be in similar situation. You are certainly not alone in, what you've gone through, right? And what you just shared. So just thank you so much for just sharing that story. I think it's really potent right now because I do think that the divine feminine is rising. Speaking of your amazing workshop that you put together, I feel like humanity is shifting. We're moving from the 3D to the 5D, and part of that is balancing masculine and feminine energies. And your story is so important. I think your story is an important piece of that. And what you are embodying, the energy you are bringing to every space you walk into is helping to shift our consciousness, our collective consciousness. So thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your courage and your magic and your sense of humor too. I love that. So what is your sun, moon, and rising sign? Remind me.
I'm a Virgo sun and I'm a Capricorn moon, Capricorn rising.
Okay. So you're very earthy.
So earthy.
Yes. Very grounded. But I love this about you, right? And also extremely organized and very concise and clear in your communication. I know I've said that to you multiple times, but I love having a meeting with you, having a conversation with you, because there aren't any clarifying questions I have to ask, because you're always like, oh, this is your question? Let me answer it. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like, next question. And I'm like, okay, well, guess we're moving on. That was really clear. Thank you. So you're awesome that way.
Thank you. I try.
Yes. Well, you're just naturally amazing at this. But yes, very earthy, very grounded. So you're Virgo sun, Capricorn rising, and Capricorn moon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you are a worker bee. You can get stuff done. And the other thing about Capricorn is that they like to enjoy the rewards of their hard work as well.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to take this trip. That's going to be a reward for both of
It
our
sure is.
hard work. And then the other thing about being a Capricorn moon is that I think most people don't realize that. So, first of all, let me back up. Your natal moon represents your emotions and your ancestral wounds. And in the 5D, it represents basically what you were responsible for giving yourself in order to feel at home in your own energy, right? It's not something that you can outsource. Like, you have to do your moon to feel good in your body, to feel good emotionally. And so what I was going to say that most people don't realize about Capricorn, even though it's an earth sign, with a Capricorn, not just with the Capricorn moon, but just Capricorn in general, from the waist up, it's this mountain goat that climbs the highest heights, right? It's a high achiever, but from the waist down, it's a fish, right? It has a fish tail. And so that means that Capricorn has a watery side. And Capricorn is actually a feminine sign in Western astrology. People don't really know that. And so what I have found just through reading people's charts and talking to different people is that Capricorns have big dreams and plans and goals they want to achieve, but they are also susceptible to burnout. And that happens when we don't tend to our watery sides as Capricorns. So what are you doing for self-care to prevent burnout in your life? I think that people would really benefit from hearing that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to say, I know that you give me so much credit for being so brave and being called, I've been called a trailblazer or whatever, but I've only been able to be this courageous in how I live my life because of the people I surround myself with. And honestly, we worked together when you had ended a relationship, and that was one of a few people that I worked with that did something similar that really paved the way for me and set an example for me to be able to do that for myself. And it was also working with you that I learned to schedule the self-care. And so I became really intentional about making sure that I was consistent about it and identifying the different ways that really filled my cup to be able to take care of myself in that way. So in terms of specifically nurturing my emotional side, because, I am very emotional. I'm very emotional. And people don't realize that. It's only the people that are very close to me that I allow myself to be vulnerable around that have experienced how emotional I can really be. And one of the ways that I really tend to that is to be around those people that I'm close to. So I'll tell you, I have one self-care goal, task, or practice that I do every week. 3 weeks of the month are body work, whether it be acupuncture, chiropractic care, or massage. And then I always make sure that I have a week built in where I'm spending time with friends. And as I've been going through my divorce, I've actually built in where I'm actually seeing friends on a weekly basis, and I'm probably spending 2 or 3 days with friends. And it's those people that I know I can be really vulnerable with because I'm an external processor. They're my safe space, and I feel free to speak my mind and talk things out with them. And I feel like in the past, I was so overwhelmed by everything that I was going through that journaling didn't do it for me. That journaling didn't help me because I felt overwhelmed by the task of writing down all the feelings and experiences that I was having. But I feel like now that I am starting to close the door on the divorce and starting this new chapter in my life, I've started journaling again too. And that's also been really helpful because now I feel like I'm not so dependent on being with friends to be able to process, that I'm also able to do that on my own with a journal. When things were really intense, out of so much care and respect for my friends, I've gone to therapy because I know my friends are always going to be there and they always want to lend the ear. But to be very frank, sometimes that emotional labor is above their capacity, or, it's like above their pay grade. Like they can listen to me, but what if I'm just dragging them into my trauma and then we're all just traumatized? We don't know what to do with it at that point.
Right.
So at varying levels of support, like I'll either do therapy, I'll be with my friends, or I'll journal on my own. Oh, and hiking a lot. Like if I'm not journaling, I'm hiking and thinking and letting it out on my own.
Nice. Nature is so healing,
It
for
is. I love
sure.
nature. She is so hot.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and we should go on a hike. There's so many good hikes over here with ocean views, so we'll put a
Yes.
pin in that. Well, we should
Yes.
do that. I would love that. And then go eat something yummy afterwards.
Okay, it's date.
Yeah, I know. It's a date. Okay, awesome. Well, okay. Let's talk about your workshop, Unleash Your Divine Feminine. I have a monthly membership. It's called the Astro Ancestral Healing Collective, and it is a sacred space for female-bodied cycle breakers to alchemize deep ancestral wounds into creative potential, shifts to higher consciousness, and embody joy using pleasure and astrology as transformative medicine. And there are many perks to the membership, one of which is a monthly guest expert workshop. And back in the summer of 2023, Krisell so generously agreed to be one of the first guest experts in the membership. So I want to read your description of the workshop, and then we can kind of talk about it from there. So Krisell writes, as a Filipina American woman that grew up in the 90s on Disney princesses, I grew up with models of femininity based on the damsel in distress. It's taken all of my 39 years in this lifetime to fully embrace my divine feminine empowerment. Femininity is more than softness. It is flexible and can bend to even the most difficult positions. It is deep, energetic intelligence that gets to the heart of any situation, and it balances the collective energy that currently heavily leans masculine. Join us for a hypnotic activation to unleash your divine feminine power and thrive like the abundant empress you are meant to be. So this was an amazing experience. This lives in our resource library. If this speaks to you, if you want to experience this, you have to join the Astro Ancestral Healing Collective. So you're going to go to heatherrebeccawilson.com and you'll see there right on the first page how to join the membership. But Krisell, for somebody who's going to watch it for the first time, how would you tell them to best prepare to get the most out of that experience? And what can they expect to get out of it?
Yeah, so the way to best prepare is find a quiet space and just allow yourself to relax into the experience. What it is a hypnotic meditation, and it's going to be the most effective when you are in a calm, relaxed state. You don't have to be absolutely relaxed because the hypnotic meditation will take you into deeper states of relaxation. But that's the best way to receive it. And once you're in the membership, actually you can listen to it over and over again, and it will just basically slowly chip away at those beliefs and values that are hindering you. Yeah. So when I thought about putting together this experience, what I really wanted to do was to help empower other women, and to be able to make those shifts so that women saw themselves as the ones in control and really had compassion with themselves for whatever actions or behaviors they may have had in the past, and for whatever thoughts or beliefs they may have had in the past that were their own blockers. So coming out of the experience, you're going to feel so totally calm and relaxed. You'll probably even think that you fall asleep in the meditation. That's totally common. And that's actually really great because you just get out of the way and allow your subconscious to just soak in the experience. But coming out of it, allowing yourself time, allow it to integrate with your mindset, you will be more empowered and you will feel like the one that actually is curating your life. Because a lot of times I feel like we're in this trope of perfectionism. A lot of times people are so afraid to make the mistake because they think it's just going to ruin everything. But you will come out of this experience realizing that there are no mistakes because you're always learning and you're always turning every experience to something that helps you grow.
Thank you. So if that speaks to you and you'd like access to this workshop and the ability to listen to this hypnotic activation over and over again, you can join the Astro Ancestral Healing Collective, learn about all the membership perks at my website, heatherrebeccawilson.com. So the link will be in the description below. So you, like I said, so generously recorded this live event last summer. A lot has changed over the past year. What are you working on now? Tell me about your new projects.
Yeah, so as of now, I am only focusing on hypnosis sessions.
Okay.
So, and the reason why I have shifted my focus to hypnotic sessions is because I feel like at the end of the day, you know what you need to do to meet your goals, to reach your goals. And when I think about creating a program to help people live their best life, there's no one size fits all. And so I really have always enjoyed working one-on-one with people, getting to know their stories and tailoring a session to what they need. And hypnosis really helps me do that. So when I meet with a person one-on-one, following a protocol to help them live their best life, it's really enabling them and empowering them to be able to be their own leader. And a lot of times that surpasses whatever that goal is that you come into that session wanting to reach, because those are just characteristics that you need to constantly evolve and advance in your life. And so that's so much more fulfilling for me because it's always been for me that you could feed a man for a day by giving him a fish, but you could feed a man or we could feed a woman for a lifetime if you teach her how to fish. And so I feel like hypnotic activations are more along the lines of teaching you how to fish than any other offering that I've ever done.
Amazing. Okay. Well, so if people want to know more about your work and potentially book a hypnotic session or a hypnosis session with you, where should they go to do that?
So they should look me up on Instagram, and my handle is at Krisell CV. And add me, follow me, because my account is now private. And then you'll be able to see all my videos on, how hypnosis works, case studies of ways that hypnosis has helped other people. And then if it's something that you are interested in, please message me because we can talk about how we would approach what it is that you want to accomplish. And building trust is the most important thing for me when I'm working with someone. So I don't like to work with people blindly anymore. I want to have a conversation with them and let them know that it's not just like, because it's never been my style to just be like, let's meet for a session and that's it. It's like this is an ongoing experience. Like how often is it that we experience something in life and it's really just like, okay, it's just that split second. It's like, no, the things that really resonate for us, they are constants in our life. Even if that constant might be like quarterly or like annually, it's not something where it just like drops in and then disappears. So,
Okay. So exciting. You're so good at this too.
thank you.
Are you doing past life regressions anymore by any chance?
I'm I'm actually not. I've thought about doing the group experiences because I know that people really enjoy them. And I do feel even in a group experience that there's still benefit. But I stopped doing them one-on-one. Actually, I only do them when it's referred by someone that I know
Okay.
because it takes so much energy and I don't really have a lot of availability to be in those sessions because sometimes they're 8 hours long.
That is super long.
Yeah. When you did your session with me, it was in the beginning of when I was doing my training. So those sessions were very brief, like they've doubled now because
Wow.
I've done advanced training and I do see how what I've learned since I did it with you is beneficial. So if I were to do it, I would want to do it right. And I have to make sure I have at least 8 hours blocked out for that.
Oh my gosh.
I
That
know.
is a huge commitment. Okay. Well, I understand why you're extremely choosy about saying yes to
Yep.
something like that. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Well, so this is called the Cycle Starters podcast. And so I have to ask before we wrap up today, what are the new cycles that you are starting in your lineages?
For sure, I'm starting a cycle of empowerment, teaching my kids that no matter how deep you are in something, that it's never too late to change the direction and showing them how great changing directions can be. I'm also starting a new cycle of, being very intentional in how I live my life and how easily I can call in the things that are truly of value to me. And by that, I mean, with my kids, obviously, I did a big thing and broke up with their dad and have gone and lived on my own. And now the biggest thing for me was that they thought I was happy and I wasn't happy. And I felt like I lied to them and I was very honest and set this a very unrealistic expectation of what genuine happiness is. And so I feel like I'm healing that now by doing things my way and being authentic around them and showing them like this is what mom really cares about. This is what I'm really interested in. This is what's really fun to me. And then also I had journaled one day the things, characteristics, the qualities in people that are really meaningful to me about the qualities that I want in the people that are in my inner circle. And I just feel so grateful and happy with the people that are in my inner circle because they are 100% those things. And just always feeling like, you know, everyone has different types of friends. Oh, these are my friends, these are my acquaintances. But I feel like the people that I speak with and connect with on a regular basis, those are my people. And I only have those people that are my real ones. And then I have very few of the acquaintance type. So,
All right. Well, I'm so happy that you're my friend, and
me too.
I consider you to be a sister for sure. So, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story and also, yeah, giving some really potent updates in terms of how your life has transformed since we recorded that workshop for the collective. I'm just so proud of you. I think you're a huge inspiration. I'm just looking forward to, seeing what else you decide to create in this new chapter of your life. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. So Everyone, thank you so much. We will see you on the next episode of the Cycle Starters podcast.
Thank you.